welcome to the latest edition of the 941 Sports Zone. I'm Spitz. He's John going snowblind Masoni. You
Explain it.
obviously you've never lived in a place. I'm snowblind because I still have drifts over a foot high out front here.
That's the truth. But I've watched so much Olympics, it's almost around the clock, that I'm getting to the point where there's too much snow in my eyesight. Too much.
Well, you only have about 5.5 days left as we record this on Monday afternoon of the Olympics. So this time next week, we'll be talking about the wrap up and the final medal count and how the hockey teams did, et cetera, et al.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it is Winter Olympics are much different than any other sports you see. There's a lot of creativeness to it. There's athleticism as well. And it has a bit of a more camaraderie to it that I've noticed, in regards, it seems like each sport, if you want to call it, or each individual, skiers and bobsledders, and they all travel together. So they're almost like family in some way. So it's interesting to see how they cheer each other on and whatnot. So I always enjoy the Olympics, but there's a lot of coverage, and they've done a nice job with it too, with the coverage. So it's easy to see everything.
Well, they have 37 networks to cover it, so
they do.
Anyway, the 941 Sports Zone, episode number 26. John, we made it through a half a year.
There's the half point. There's the half point, 26. And now I think once you get to a half, you're going into your full year. Then I guess like the training wheels are off on this whole thing, Rich. We really are sort of hitting our stride, and now it's a matter of getting up through the gears and see if we can't get it into really high speed here soon enough.
Yeah, get the next 205 days through to the next football game. Actually, it might be 204. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. The 941 Sports Zone is presented, as always, by the good folks at Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. They are locally owned and nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses up and down the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is their number to give them a call. 941-251-4257. Well, as we mentioned, the Winter Olympics in the second and final week of competition. It began this morning with this Monday morning, I should say, with Team USA's women's hockey team rolling over previously unbeaten Sweden 5-0 to advance to the gold medal game on Thursday. They will play the winner of Canada versus Switzerland. And I got to be honest with you, watching this, they've basically given up one goal in their 6 games, and that was in the first game.
Right.
And it's going to be Canada. I mean, let's be real. It's going to be Canada and us again. We won in the preliminary round 5-0, but their version of Wayne Gretzky did not play. I think her last name is Poulin. She's back. I think it's going to be a lot more difficult, but anything short of gold here, in my opinion, would be a bit of a disappointment. What say you, John?
Yes, I totally agree. Watched a good portion of the game today, which is again on Monday versus Sweden. They are, we talk about the physicality or the lack of physicality in the women's side of things, but they're a physical team. Their puck handling is very it's NHL level, as far as that's concerned. I know they play a lot together. They're not just putting some all-star teams together. They do play professionally and at the collegiate level, but these particular players play a lot together, and you can see it. And I would say that it would be a huge disappointment to see them not take it to the gold medal and getting the gold medal.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. The U.S. has 17 medals to this point. They didn't get any on Sunday, but there should be some more coming. They're currently tied for third, along with Japan as we record. Norway leading the way with 26 medals, and the host Italy with a nice showing of 22 medals right now. Would like to see us maybe give Italy a little run for the money for second place. I don't think anybody's going to catch Norway. This is their thing, and it's winter 12 months a year around there, so they have a little bit of an advantage. But certainly there's been some good. There's been some bad. The biggest surprise for Team USA to this point is Mikaela Shiffrin has yet to medal. She only has one more event. I think she was in 6 total, and she's regarded as the best alpine skier in the world, and yet she didn't get a medal 4 years ago, and
Right.
she's really in danger of getting shut out yet again.
So her Olympics last time, she was a shoo-in in a lot of cases to win the slalom, which is her big time, the one that she's the best at, obviously, giant slalom. But she had the yips, if you want to call it the skier having the yips. She got out of the gate a couple of times, made it 10 seconds on the hill, and she was out of it. Almost similar to what happened to the quad god, Ilya Malkin. I think I'm saying that properly. Where he did his full program, short and long program in the team competition, seemed to get all the jitters out of the way, got used to the ice, and he was ready to win by a landslide, and then goes ahead and falls down. It almost looked like it was a done on purpose. It was so bad. He's so much better, Rich, than the rest of the field, that winning by hundreds of points and tenths of points or whatever is very common in these particular type of events. He wins by 40 points. Like it's
crazy.
It's that much better. And then he could have went out there and done a third of what he would planning on doing and would have won. That's how far ahead he is. And it was tough to watch. But that's what Mikaela Shiffrin's been dealing with last year and a little bit this year. Now she did okay in the giant slalom because it was a little tough course, and that's not really her best event. But she really dropped the ball in the team event where it was the downhill and the slalom, and the Breezy Johnson, who we talked about last week, was the fastest down the hill. And when
they were in first. Yeah.
When you have the best slalom person in the world coming out, it should have been another landslide victory for a gold medal for the two of them. And then she didn't pull it off. So slalom is going to be the one she's going to have to do something about. And although, she's got her career is so unbelievable, over 100 wins in the World Cup situation. She's by far the most accomplished women's American skier of all time. And she is a media darling as well. She's well-spoken. She's fun to listen to. She's pretty. There's a lot of good things that go into that she has a lot going for her moving forward. But I know, but somebody in that situation, you want to put a stamp on your legacy. And this one race might be the one that say, yeah, she came out of it of the yips or whatever it was, and she did win the slalom. I would say maybe you could be okay with a podium, but nothing less than that. She has the medal in slalom. Otherwise, it's going to be a real issue.
Yeah, you mentioned it, the Breezy Johnson thing. I mean, they went from first to fourth. They didn't even get on the podium. That was shocking to me. That it was that poor of a performance. Yeah. It was that poor. Yep. The men, as far as the hockey team, they finished unbeaten in the preliminary round. They beat Germany 5-1 on Sunday. So they're going to end up as the 2 seed because, Canada's scoring 10 goals a game.
Yeah.
So they ended up getting the 1 seed. And what that means, in all likelihood, for Team USA is a matchup with Sweden in the semis. And Sweden is a darn good outfit. You don't win that game, you don't medal. You end up finishing fourth.
Right.
Or not fourth, below that even. You don't get the opportunity to even get a medal. So it's going to be an interesting game against Sweden. Of course, their captain is one Victor Hedman, who plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning are so well represented. They're on like a half dozen teams. There's guys. Jake Gensel's played very well for Team USA. He had a big goal in the win over Denmark. That game was on Saturday. The Lightning players have all played very well, and so far, fingers crossed, nobody's gotten hurt so far, at least from the Lightning, because when they come back on the 25th, they've got this little thing called the Eastern Conference where they're leading. But in all seriousness, this is a great showing for the Lightning. But the one thing that does scare me is Sweden is a very good outfit, and that's a very likely 2-3 matchup. Your thoughts?
I will tell you this: watching the men's side, what I've looked at and seen from the Americans is they seem to be. There's a little bit of a slow start, and I'm not really keen on the goaltending.
Mm.
It seems a little. I've seen some soft goals. I've seen some situations that maybe they shouldn't have. The Canadians are on a mission. They all have a look on their face like they're pissed off. Like they're pissed off at something. Maybe they're pissed off at Donald Trump. Maybe they're pissed off at the fact that they are not getting the run that they expect to be, that their rightful spot on the king of the hill situation, for them with all the sport as it is. But I don't know. I mean, I do see a difference between the two teams as far as the demeanor on the ice is concerned. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. If you were betting, I think you'd bet on Canada at this point, just based on the resumes coming up through this point. But all bets are off with rivalries.
Yes.
This is when you don't know what's going to happen. Momentum can shift in a heartbeat. One thing can lead to another, and you next thing you know, you are playing for the bronze. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if the U.S. can come out and get an early jump on things, establish themselves, play a little better. Just they need to be a little sharper. Let's put it that way. So that to be fair, a little sharper than they've been.
Yeah, you're talking Jeremy Swayman. He let two incredibly soft goals, including one from almost 100 feet. Was way outside the blue line. If he sees the ice again, that would be a major shock. Yeah, they're definitely going to have to tighten things up, and they're going to have to play a physical brand of hockey. They're going to have to knock the Canadians off their game. Well, let's get there first, though. Like I said, it's no guarantee that they're going to play. They're going to play Canada. I think Canada rolls into the finals. They have just been, and you mentioned that edge they play with. Who's their coach again?
John Cooper.
John Cooper. Yeah. The man is a master motivator. He's a tremendous coach. If he doesn't win the Jack Adams this year, I think they should just go ahead and not even have a coach of the year anymore in the NHL. But he has definitely put his stamp on this team.
I saw a highlight yesterday, I think it was, and I saw Connor McDavid scored a goal in a trouncing of a game. And when he scored the goal, there was no glee on his face.
Right.
He looked like he was biting through his bottom lip or his mouthpiece or whatever. He had to look. It didn't look the same from the celebration was sort of like, well, let's go get 5 more goals because we're going to make sure we get number 1 seed. And we're going to make sure we have all the advantages we need to keep moving on.
Yeah, no question about it. So they are definitely could be the thorn in our side as far as the men's hockey goes. It's been entertaining. It's been a lot of good games.
Definitely.
On more the men than the women. The women, it's really, Team USA and Team Canada are just, I think, so much better than everybody else. I actually expected a little bit of a game from Sweden today on the ladies' side, and really for about the first 28, 30 minutes, it was only 1-0. And then the USA put 4 goals in succession, 3 on consecutive shots, and it was lights out. So look forward to that. That game, the gold medal game for the women, would be played on Thursday. I believe 1:10 would be puck drop here in the United States. So, and Wednesday starts the elimination round on the men's side. So, it's been a very good Olympics. I've been more engaged than normal. Watched a little bit last night. Watched a little more this morning. So it's definitely available for you. And for those of you who like the Winter Olympics, it's been tremendous. But like you said, John, from Florida, got a lot of snow going on there. A lot of snow.
The presentation that the NBC is doing on this has been stellar. I have to hand it to NBC. They are involved with everything. Yeah. Everything. They are obviously Olympics, which is a 24/7 cycle for a couple of weeks. A lot to be put into that. On top of getting the NBA and still having the NBA All-Star Game, All-Star Weekend, which we'll talk about a little later. I enjoyed of what I watched. And I'm not tip of the cap to whoever was involved, but NBC had a hand in some of it, I'm sure. And go right down the line with NBC. They're doing a fantastic job.
They had the Super Bowl too, John. Super Bowl. So what a really couple of weeks they've got going there. And it's kind of interesting. I've heard a lot of rumors that they put so much into the NBA that they may end up losing the NFL because they put just too much money into things, that'll be interesting to see.
Sometimes you can have so many channels, but you can't do the product right. And that's the NFL, they take precedent over everybody, and they want to be treated in such a way too. So that's
Yes, they do.
where that ends up. One other quick backtrack a little bit for you, Rich. You talked about the medal count. Over the years of watching the Olympics, and I can remember the first one I can remember in detail was the 1976 Winter Olympics. Franz Hammer, I think it was.
Yes.
He was the Austrian downhiller. Wore a gold suit down the thing, and he went down like it was like a stunt man. He was on one ski. I remember hearing the color commentator was just losing his mind over how he survived that run, and that's when it sort of caught your eye about what the Olympics meant. But the reason I bring that up is that Norway, for like I said, that has must snow 12 months a year, they were never a dominant country back in the day. They've always been dominant in cross-country skiing. I remember that for sure. They were always cross-country skiers, and they did well because back in the day it was USA and Soviet Union and Germany and Austria, and you go right down the list, and you didn't really. Now Norway was there, but you didn't see them as much. Whatever they've done over the last 20 plus years to make themselves the dominant winter sport country, a tip of the cap to whoever's in charge of that, because they really should be. It should be the sport that they can dominate in a lot of ways. They're dominating now in the jumping, and I can't remember the
jumping,
jumping, and they're doing well in that, and they're doing well in the downhill skiing. They're doing well in all kinds of the skating stuff. So they're doing a really good job in everything. I see them. They're doing well in curling. So there's something about putting it all together that they've done a really nice job, and that was noticeable this year to see how well they're doing.
Interesting. There are two controversies going on in the Olympics.
Oh yeah, there are.
You mentioned curling and Team Canada and some back and forth. Apparently, they've been touching the rock after it's been released.
Yep, double touching or whatever.
Yeah, double touching, and the folks up north in Canada not too happy with the team. It's been clear as day, and of course, there's been some back and forth rancor going on with that. But the other controversy is how do I describe this? So apparently in the ski jumping and also in the downhill, you can gain an advantage by taking an injection.
Yes. So
and an injection, hold on, let me finish, because I'm squeamish even thinking about it. An injection in the unit, if you will, the male unit, which makes them bigger, makes them wear a bigger outfit, I guess, makes them more aerodynamic. I guess the first question I would have is, would you ever even consider that?
So, not growing up in that environment about how that might be important to somebody. I can't judge anybody else, but no.
No, God, no.
So,
God,
I mean, why can't you just go old school and stuff a sock down there? It's all
because
for
I
show.
believe you'd be disqualified. So interesting.
And and that they talked about how the suit fits and it's got wider and it gets more
because you get bigger.
Longer. Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's funny, but how you could let's say you're what's the word I'm looking for? You're trying to test drive something, or you're doing tunnel tests for cars to see how fast they can go. What do? They're like, okay, you look like you're the right size.
No,
it works.
No,
it's crazy.
Hell no.
Anyway, not a chance. I'll
there you go.
Anyway,
let's move on before I can't finish the podcast. The 941 Sports Zone, presented as always by the good folks at Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. 941-251-4257 is their number. They've got national backing, but they are locally owned. They're owned right here in our area, delivering unbelievable roofing for homes and businesses up and down the Gulf Coast. Again, If you have some roofing issues, give them a call, 941-251-4257. Well, Florida always, the week after the Super Bowl, has another Super Bowl of sorts, and that is, of course, the Daytona 500, which is the Super Bowl of motor racing, which is week one. Always thought that was really weird, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Couple of things I want to bring up before I actually bring up the race. Good on the folks at Daytona and also Fox, who broadcast it, for moving the race up.
Yeah.
Because I guess there was weather that could have affected the end of the race. They knew the window that they had, and they moved the race up, I believe, an hour, maybe even a little more, to a 1:30 start time, which, by the way, back in the day, they used to run the Daytona 500 during the day, the entire race.
Noon.
And I think it loses a little.
Yeah.
I think it loses a little something when it gets dark out. Me personally, I just think it's aesthetically better, but good on them to be flexible like that and to get the race in, because there was a lot of talk. If they would have stayed at the same time, it would either been a short race or they would have had to finish on Monday or what have you. So good on them. Now the race itself, I'm not a huge NASCAR guy. I'll be the first to admit it, but I do know I went to one Daytona. That was back in 2005. I do know that it's a 200 lap race and about 190 laps are incredibly mundane usually.
Yeah.
But yesterday was completely different. They had a wreck in the first 10 laps. And then there was another really big wreck. There was actually a couple of decent sized wrecks in the middle of the race. And then, of course, the last lap was what the last lap has become with the Daytona 500. Tyler Reddick gets the win. Interesting. He gets no additional points because the only lap he led, John, was the last one, which is the only one that counts.
Right.
So first of all, your thoughts on the race itself?
I agree with you as far as the start time is concerned. I thought it was always. Hold on one second. A message came up and I wasn't sure what it was. It was a pop-up thing. I thought, what did I do? No. I agree with you as far as the start time getting moved up was a smart thing. I think that should be a daytime race as well. I know they're trying to catch that 6 o'clock time slot or whatever it may be to get everybody. I get all that. But another thing is that the track conditions change when the sun goes down.
Yes,
so
it does.
There's an effect on that on the race as well. Now, somebody would say, well, they got to do what they got to do. It could rain, it could do whatever. But still, to have to push it an extra hour or two further in to just get more of the same old schlocky. He's on this tire now, and he did this, and I get all the gearheads really love that. But I mean, as far as the big show is concerned, I think that a noon start, maybe even 12:15, 12:30 was fine. Get the race in and have no trouble with that whatsoever. As far as the race itself, I'd say with about 60 laps to go, maybe 80 laps to go, they were 3 wide for a long time. And 3 wide, like I said, there is like they're going. That is very, very, I mean, on your edge of the seat type of viewing. To watch somebody trying to hold on to the lead while somebody is drafting him and then slingshotting around him and then catching the draft from somebody else. You can go from first to 25th in a half a lap if you get shuffled out. Watching the car manufacturers, the Fords work with the Fords and the Toyotas with the Toyotas. I was explaining to my uncle yesterday, he knows about car racing, but not all the sort of the inside or other things. Yeah. I'm like, and we talked about, hey, Fords will hook up with Fords because Ford wants them to win. That's where the money comes from. It comes from the manufacturers and the advertisers and everything else. Mm-hmm. So these guys are like, hey, we want to see Ford on the podium. We want to see you guys finish. So go team up in some way. The person who won, that was a right place, right time.
Yeah.
You
twice in the race, he could have been part of a major wreck, and twice he avoided it.
And ironically enough, who does he drive for? Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan. And Michael gets to have his time, but he was hands on the trophy. He likes trophies, man. He loves trophies.
Well, and, the backstory of this, John. I mean, basically NASCAR was trying to put him and Denny Hamlin out of business.
Yeah.
And they had to go to court. And this was literally like a month and a half ago that Jordan and Hamlin won. So this is extra special sweet for Jordan. The fact that the people that wanted to put him out of the sport, and not only does he race on Sunday, he wins. Yes,
Right.
he does like to put his hands on trophies, no question about it. And that smile reminded me of a couple of the championship smiles in the 90s. I mean, he was beaming ear to ear after the victory, and I know it had significant meaning.
And I will say this to you, like, so he had so much to do with Chicago's championships. At the end, it almost felt like it was Michael Jordan and whoever else threw on the Bulls uniform. You know what I mean? In some ways, it was. Right. I think the smile on his face was a reflection of the fact that it was he was part of a team. Now ownership is obviously you're top of the totem pole, but he can only do so much. There's a whole lot of people in an organization like that have to get things done. And his failings in Charlotte as a basketball owner were because he had his hands in too much of the stuff, from what I've heard. In this case, he had to give up a little bit of that leadership role or that hands-on ability and say, no, I trust you and I trust this person, and we're putting this guy in the car, and I'll be there. And then because it looked like there was a genuine happiness to him winning that.
Yes.
He bets millions of dollars on the golf course. The money in the bet means nothing to him. But the idea that watching it all win and how it's a real family effect. I would be surprised if a year from now he's not sitting down for some conversation with somebody, maybe a podcast or two, who knows? And he admits that this was that was maybe one of the happiest or one of the better wins he's ever had in his life, no matter what sport he played.
Yeah, no question about it. Tyler Reddick winning. He passed Chase Elliott on the final turn. Elliott then, you talked about that 3 wide racing. He came low. The guy to Elliott's right kind of turned a little bit, and that started another major wreck. But like you said, he really had the charm. He had the charm going, because he could have been easily wiped out. So good on him. Ryan Stenhouse finished second. Joey Logano every year is in the top 5, and he did it again. He finished third. Elliott ended up fourth after getting passed, and Brad Keselowski rounded out the top 5. So another very successful, sold-out crowd. Crowd was really into it. You could definitely tell. And I think that helps. That's the other thing. We talk about TV and all that stuff. This is a weekend, and the fans, they bring the RVs. They're partying all weekend. But the fact that they were able to get done, around 5:30, 6 o'clock, they get to go home, and it just worked out good for everyone. And I thought the crowd was fantastic. I know it's a niche sport. And certainly, there's been some talk lately that it's maybe lost a little bit of its luster. A lot of but Hamlin retiring, Junior retiring. They've had a lot of Jimmy Johnson. His last race will probably be next year. So they're trying to get some new blood in there, and I think I certainly think they gotta certainly be happy with the way things turned out on Sunday.
Back not long ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, even a little further back than that, all these guys were characters. Okay? Yes. Now they're very polished. They have their hair is cut just right. They wear medium fire retardant suits. They look a certain way. They don't have the same sort of like brashness to them or the twang or whatever you want to call it that they have. They don't seem to have it. They're very corporate. Mm-hmm. They're not, it's a comedy movie, but the Legend of Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights, mm-hmm. When the character of the Frenchman come in, and he was a corporate guy, buttoned up, whatever he was. I win, I drive better than you. And Ricky Bobby's winning by driving backwards. It's all slapstick, it's all comedy, but there's something to that. There's something to your driver being an a-hole, or your driver being reckless, or your driver being the buttoned up corporate guy, or whatever it may be. I think because it's always been about the driver and the car, because the car, how it looks, colors and numbers, and of course manufacturers as well,
sponsors.
There's been something that it's, so I think that it has, over the last couple of years, it's lost its luster. I don't know, or it's uniqueness. You called it a niche sport. Yeah, sometimes it is, and those guys they're not the same guys. They're just not.
Right.
And I don't know if that's because they're, learning younger, or being groomed in the minor leagues of racing, and being taught how to speak, and going to Dale Carnegie classes and whatnot. But whatever they do, they need to be themselves. They need to be the guy who's got oil under on his end of his nose, or his fingernails are dirty, or whatever it was.
Right.
The car to them is just it's not one with them. They just get in it and they get out of it, and that's all there is to it. So I think that there's something to that. I don't know how you recreate that. I don't know if you can go backwards and say, hey, can you get a little, can you not cut your hair as much? Can you grow a handlebar mustache? Whatever it may be. But I don't know. But it has lost a little bit, because really I don't see a lot of people in my orbit, at least, who are like diehard Dale Earnhardt fans like they were, or diehard Richard Petty fan, or diehard Jimmy Johnson fan, or whatever it was. Jeff Gordon. Yeah. So all those guys, and we know their names. That's the thing. Right. We don't know everybody's name anymore. We just don't.
Right.
You said Joey Logano. Joey Logano is he's an agitator. He's sort of, a guy like him, but he doesn't get the run. He's sort of like, kind of falls. And I do one of the things I will say to you as well. They switch teams a lot.
Yeah.
So you never kind of have the guy that, college football, you root for the team, you root for those colors,
right.
And whoever's in the uniform you're rooting for. Now it's like, well, who drives the 3 car? Who drives the 24? It's like, oh, it's a young and up and comer. Like, oh, okay, well, I don't know him. Where'd the guy who was driving it go? Well, he's working for so-and-so down the pit row. And it doesn't come across as that you don't have anybody you can say lean on and say, I got my gear and that's my guy.
All right, so another Daytona 500 in the record books. Of course, they'll have the race later on this year. They always have 2 races, and I think it's actually part of the playoffs now. It used to be the Coca-Cola 400, but I don't know who the sponsor is now. Pepsi 400.
I remember it was Firecracker 400.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's July great. Yep, exactly. It was always on July 4th. Now they've kind of moved it, I think, a little later. So.
Yeah, and anyway, that was a night race too. That was a night race because most of it was because it was so hot.
Yeah, and that you have to do it then. Yes, absolutely.
And it rains in the morning in Daytona in the summer, so it's all out of the way by then.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, bringing you this in every episode of the 941 Sports Zone. 941-251-4257 is their number. They've got the backing of national brands, but they are locally owned. And give them a call if you need some roofing, 941-251-4257. They are the best around. All right. We wouldn't do a podcast if there wasn't any NFL in it. And the Dolphins have begun to get the broom out and clean house. And I mean, it's kind of funny because the logo for Super Bowl 61 came out. Okay. And one of the colors is the Dolphins. Do you really think the Dolphins are going to be anywhere near sniffing the Super Bowl next year? No. So hopefully this will shut down the conspiracy theorists who keep saying, oh, yeah, like this year it was, I guess, the 2 guys that were closest to the trophy. Yeah. Drake, come on. I just – people just have too much time on their hands.
They do.
They really, really do. Anyway.
And I'll say the only thing about the conspiracy theory, Rich, I'll say one thing. It wasn't the teams; it was the players. Okay, because Drake May was coming off a great year as a rookie, and Sam Darnold going to Seattle with a good. So if there was something to be said about them being closer to it, it was more about the 2 quarterbacks being marquee players now.
Right.
Because weren't they also wasn't Aaron Rodgers or somebody we were a little close to them as well as
Yeah,
I think as well. So
you could interpret
there's
it any way
reasons
you
they
want.
do it, but that wasn't about picking the winner. That's for sure.
Right, exactly. Well, the Dolphins, one release to me was a little surprising. The other one, no surprise at all. Two of their highest profile players are now history. Tyreek Hill, who of course got hurt during week 4 last year. I think he dislocated a knee and tore an ACL, a pretty serious injury, and he's getting up there in years. And Bradley Chubb, that one surprised me a little bit, but he is a veteran. He does make a lot of money. And the Dolphins, have just basically, like I said, they're cleaning house. I mean, they're, if they weren't in a division with the Jets, they'd probably be the worst team in the division. Sorry, John.
Right. No, it's true. They're both doing the same thing, except they just didn't change their coach out this year. So
right. Now Hill was released along with two other players, an offensive lineman and another player, but their release is immediate. Bradley Chubb, it's not sure if he's going to be released before or after the start of the league year on March 11th. Again, salary cap implications, but really with these releases, what are the Dolphins worried about? They're almost acting like it doesn't really matter. I mean, Hill's going to count a ton against the cap.
Right.
Still had time left on the contract. Tua is next, and that will cost them $100 million, 99 something, if they release him this year. So the Dolphins definitely looking to move forward.
The Dolphins will be bad for a number of years. And I will say that they might be bad enough because I think, it's very hard to you mentioned the Jets. I'll use the Jets. The Jets restarted a year ago or, Aaron Glenn comes in. It didn't work. It was terrible. Okay. It was an absolute disaster. Coaches are getting fired, everything else, and they're restarting. But they can't sit around and wait and tank another year or have another bad year. Aaron Glenn will make it back as the coach.
Correct.
So it's not going to happen. Miami can sit back and say, you know what? We're going to get Arch Manning, or we are going to get that guy because there's going to be a lot of them.
The kid
we got one this year because because then you have Chambliss coming back. You got Moore. You got Arch. All those different. You're going to have a ton of quarterbacks coming back, and you want the one you want. You better suck. And that means get rid of Tua, put Quinn Ewers in there a quarterback, or that better yet, put Zach Wilson in a quarterback.
Oh, Jesus.
Have a bunch of guys that aren't very good and go out there and go 2-15 and just take your beating and wait for the next guy to show up and be the savior. That's it, because you already tried the Tua thing, and it's not working. It's never going to work. He's injury prone. He doesn't throw the ball as he never had the arm strength from day one, and so you just look at that and say that's a failed idea altogether. So that's the deal there. So we'll see what happens. Dolphins will be bad, and there'll be a lot of bad teams next year, by either by choice or not. There are going to be some bad teams, and I think you're going to see a lot of early ejects, so to speak. Somebody comes out of the gate and they're 1-4. Coach has been there a couple of years. It's a failed they're going to cut ties and hope for the best.
Yeah. Interesting, though. I'm sitting here thinking, and with Tyreek, maybe another renewal with the Chiefs. Again, they're lacking at the wide receiver position. They could be the ACL twins because, Patrick Mahomes went with an ACL, and Hill, let's see if he has that burst back. But if you're the Chiefs, you can get him for the league minimum.
Put the band back together, right? So we got now. Does Kelsey come back, or is he going to get married and go off into the sunset? Mahomes will be back. Hill coming back will work because he really fit what Andy Reid used him for. And he was good with Miami too. Don't be wrong, but the fit is very easy. If he's smart, he got a ton of money in his pockets. If he wants to go play football and be a part of a winning situation, then he should go to Kansas City. Make sure he knows his role, which I think Andy Reid will tell him who his role is, because we talked about this last week. The AFC is way weaker than the NFC.
Yes.
Way weaker.
Yep.
So AFC is up for grabs. Kansas City in that division, can they beat Denver? Sure. They can beat the LA. Sure. So they could easily win a division if they get their act together. A couple pieces here and there. I think their old line is not bad. So we'll see about that. I would definitely, if that would be the case, where else would he go? I would have no idea, because who else is willing to know? Don't forget, he didn't just hurt his knee. He's a little bit of an iffy character as well.
Correct.
So you're not just taking on a guy that's going to have a janky knee. He's also got a guy with a janky personality. And so you know what you get. And at least he's going to a place where probably he'd be his most settled version of himself back home with the Chiefs.
Yeah, see, I agree with that. That part, because Andy Reid is a no shit guy, and he'll lay it right on the line. You want to play for us? Cut the shenanigans. I think that's part of the reason why they released him to begin with, or traded him, I should say. He's never been released. They traded him, and maybe now he's learned his lesson, and maybe like you said, they get the band to get back together. I think that's part of the reason Travis Kelce's just kind of laying in the weeds at the moment. I mean,
wait and see. And it's not a bad thing to do, because like I said, if he left tomorrow, his legacy is cemented. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the top 4, 5, however you want to look at tight ends, and maybe in the history of the NFL. So he's got nothing more to prove. It's all up to him what he wants to do with himself for the next year or so.
Well, I think it's him and Gronk. I think 1-2. So I agree with you completely.
The championships matter, because look at a game like Tony Gonzalez. I mean, he couldn't win anything. He was all over the place, didn't win anything. So you say the same thing. Kellen Winslow back in the day was such a talented guy, but the whole San Diego thing couldn't manage it either.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, there's guys that maybe you could throw a big resume around them, but when you put the championships that those two have, it's hard to match them.
Totally agree. All right, and I'm sure we'll catch up. The Combine's coming up literally in about a week and a half. I mean, the NFL has something going on every single month. So, you got the owners' meetings in March, you got the draft in April, you got the schedule release in May. I mean, it just they've just totally they suck. Like, I think you said it best when we were talking about what we're going to do as we get into the spring and summer. They just suck the life out of everything. They really do.
You're going to free agency is going to break in those the couple of days. They don't even sign them. They're all speculation, and it's the top story. It is the top story. Yeah,
they're not supposed to be talking, but wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah, they're talking. It's amazing how the league year starts at 4:00, and at 4:02 deals start coming through. Adam Schefter's reporting. Tom Pelissero's reporting. It's unfreaking believable. All right. Let's get to something you talked about a little earlier, All-Star Weekend. Festivities wrapped up with that round-robin tournament yesterday in L.A. Did you see the first game, which was kind of early? It was mid-afternoon L.A. time, mid or late afternoon L.A. time. When they started, there weren't very many people in the seats.
Right.
Now, it got better, and certainly – I will say this. All right. I'm not for this format. I wasn't. However, for the first time in several years, John, you could see a competition out there. Guys weren't just mailing it in. And I give credit to Anthony Edwards, who turned out to be the MVP. He was very serious. Wembanyama, did you see how dejected he was after they lost that first game? I mean, that was not fake. So maybe, even though I don't like the format, maybe the format created the competition we've been lacking for over a decade, at least in the All-Star game. What's your thoughts?
So what it did was, when I first heard, I'm like, interesting. I couldn't really give you it till I saw it happen, what was going to happen. So you got the old guys, the stripes, whatever they were, the young guys, the stars, and then the Euro guys, right? The guys of the world. And what you did was you created a natural camaraderie with each other. Kevin Durant knows Jalen Brunson, knows they've been around the league together for a while. Okay.
Right.
You had those guys, and and the young guys wanted to prove their mettle, obviously, and then you wanted to see what the world guys as well. As I got into the third game, and I saw a lot of sweat and energy put into it, I was like, I like it, because that's forcing these guys to be competitive.
Yeah.
Okay. Even in an NBA game of 48-minute game, you only get 15 minutes of real competitiveness, if you want to call it that. All right.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, it was competitive from start to finish.
Jump Street. You're right.
And so each individual game had a competitive feel to it. I know you can't change the NBA around, shorten the game or whatever. That's never going to happen. It's just the game is
Less
what it
games,
is.
Right?
But man, this had a real feel to it. Even the scoring, the way that it was put together, that first to 15 wins kind of deal. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you had that feel like, okay, shots were there was got to make this shot. Not one at the end of the game, but like multiple points in the game where this is a must make, or they got to get this one in. So it led to a lot of really natural drama that played out. It wasn't force fed. It wasn't whatever else. And if you wanted to act like a goofball, it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Because you had guys look at you saying, no, you can't go try to do a between your leg, off the backboard, knock it in with your head dunk. You can't do it. You got to hit the threes, and you got to, drive to the hole, and you got to, take a foul. And so it forced the issue. I will tell you when it's all said and done, it's an A, and they need to keep this thing in place for a long time. You will not see people walk in like at Chavez Ravine in the second inning and leave in the fifth. You're going to see people there early to catch the games and catch who's going to play who first. I think it's going to be very, very, very interesting. I think they've got themselves a winner, and they haven't had a lot of winners with this stuff in the last couple of years.
No question about it. I mean, it's been something that it's not even on my radar.
Right.
When we're doing that. So hats off to the NBA for making it a little more competitive. The stuff that happens prior, the 3-point contest, I think, was still good. The fact that Dame Time on a torn ACL ends up winning the 3-point contest for the third time, I think everybody's saying they need to drug test him. What happened there, kind of thing. But I thought the 3-point contest was good. I really did.
And they said that with Lillard, that it was how he shoots the ball. He doesn't jump. Right. He's a flat-footed, tippy-toe jumper guy. So,
okay, so that was good. However, I think, John, the slam dunk contest has got to go.
Crap.
I think it's done. It's done. It was won by Keyshawn Johnson of the Heat. Did anybody know that Keyshawn Johnson, A, was in the NBA, and B, played for the Heat? I don't even think Heat fans knew who he was.
And then he went by default anyway, because I didn't even watch it. I heard that. Dunk and fell and whatever.
Yeah. Basically, the dunk contest. The stars don't go anymore. They really don't, and it's a shame. I mean, Jordan used to do it all the time, and I understand why they don't do it, but I mean, come on, it's that. Yeah, and so if you're not going to have the stars do it, just
don't do it.
Do something. Do it. I heard somebody talk about the fact maybe we should have like a one-on-one tournament. I would like that better than the freaking dunk contest right now.
One-on-one or some modified version of horse. So you got a guy out there. It's like, what's your shot going to be? Oh, I'm going to do a 360 dunk. And you're playing again, and maybe Steph Curry can't do that, but Steph Curry can go and shoot one from the logo, and you're a dunking guy. You got him hit it. It could be interesting to see the mismatches. Do you remember way back in the day? And this is my second way back. When the CBS Sports would at halftime would do was one-on-one. It would be like it'd be like Willis Reed versus JoJo White, and they would play one-on-one, and they had first guy to 11 or whatever it was, and Oh, JoJo White advances next week. We'll see if it's going to be Rich and John playing each other, and then they advanced and it was the whole season, and it finally came down to like Jabbar versus McAdoo or whatever it was. It was pretty cool to watch. I remember watching and seeing like how they got their shots and how they had to really strategize a way around if there was a height differential or whatever it was. So very interesting to see that, but they've got to do something. They know it. They really do know it. I mean, if NBA is anything, they're marketers through and through. Don't know how to market something, and I think they found a winner with their new format for the All-Star game. So let's see if they can do the same with that.
Speaking of winners, we're going to talk a little bit of the opposite. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver had his State of the Game presser on Friday, and the first question out of the mouth of a reporter was, are you going to address this tanking? I mean, the tanking has gotten to the point, John. Utah is a perfect example. I mean, they're not even hiding it. They play their starters for 3 quarters, and then down the stretch, they play the bench. They're actively not trying to win. And Adam Silver came right out and said everything's on the table, and as he should.
Right.
They've tried finding teams. They don't care. They print money in the NBA right now. That TV contract is absolutely nuts. You have to go draft picks. You have to go. I mean, he's got a problem. He knows, and it's a PR problem.
Right.
The Mavericks have lost 10 or 11 in a row. You got teams that just literally do not care if they win or not, and it's something that they've got to take care of, and they've got to take care of it soon, or the product is going to suffer.
The commissioner always works for the owners.
Right.
Okay. So he's got to look at the owners and say, hey, Mark Cuban, we're not doing this anymore. Okay. Mm-hmm. Hey, whoever owns the Jazz, it can't happen anymore. We're marketing. We have a new contract. We can't have a product that people don't trust.
Correct.
They don't want to put their time into it because you got half the league just giving up. It's enough that a player would want to maybe not get in there. We got a bone spur or an ankle that he could play on, but he's not going to risk it. And that's understandable in some cases. But to have a team just actively, saying, hey, pull the starters, throw them in there. If we win, we win, but more likely we lose, and down the road, here we go. And the thing that's funny about it, Rich, is that to tank now in the NBA, I guess my question would be, for what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for what? Wembanyama was a major star. Flag, it has a lot going for him, but they're talking about Flag being a 20-10 guy. You can get that in the bottom of the first round if you have to.
Right.
His big thing is he was doing it in high school. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a big deal. And it may be better than that. I'm just saying. But there's the best players in the league. Not a lot of them are the number 1 overall draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to tank in the NBA makes no sense to me, because like you're not guaranteed anybody. Maybe once every 8 or 9 years you are, but not every year. You're like, oh, got that guy. What did he do? Oh, he played 1 year at Duke, and he's Carlos Boozer's kid. No, I don't know about that. You know what I mean?
He's talented.
No, but I'm saying, is there a guarantee?
No, there's no guarantees of anything.
Right. Hey, it's a great career. 18 and 12. That's a great career. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to buy a $5,000 courtside ticket to see a guy go 18 and 12.
Right.
So that's the thing. I don't know if that's really what you're looking to do. I think at this point that would be sort of a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. They just it can't be that obvious. It just can't. I mean, and I give credit to Charlotte. Charlotte could have been part of that tanking.
Sure.
And instead they went the other direction, and they are playing some tremendous basketball. The All-Star break came at the absolute wrong time for them. I think they won 10 of 11 or 11 of 12, and they're now in the play-in game, which for Charlotte, again, you talked about it earlier with Michael Jordan and his shortcomings as an owner. They seem to have found a formula, and they've got a group that really wants to play, and they're going to be heard from before the year is out.
Memphis was a team like this a couple of years ago where they were on the rise, but they had the wrong guy that they're hitching their star to, because Morant just doesn't have he wasn't the right character guy to be a leader on the team. But Charlotte may have it again. Golden State, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, the whole thing, Klay Thompson. You didn't see a bunch of guys. You didn't have a guy that was now Green was an agitator, but he's not against the team. He's for the team. Right. I heard a story the other day about Golden State when Draymond punched that kid in the face at practice. He was a rookie and whatever else. They said when it happened, you would think that somebody would have run over and stopped it, but nobody flinched. Draymond did what he had to do because it had to be done. And that's the kind of team that you don't need to have. Now Steph Curry is an all-timer now. And that means he's that's some. There's actually a landline here, so that's if you hear that noise, everybody, you don't know what that is.
Wow, a landline.
Yes,
you relic
yes.
you.
Well, it's part of the bundle, so
yes.
I kept it around for the time being. So if I shut it down,
the bundle goes away. Yeah, I got
something
you.
was wrong with me, that something was wrong. So that kind of a thing. But anyway, but that team was built as a team. They weren't built on individuals, and they became great superstars because of the team concept. So I think there's a lot to be said about that as you look at the NBA. You don't have to go out and try to get, I think the LeBron sweet talk everybody to come play with you in Miami thing is sort of losing its luster.
Yeah,
you're not seeing it as much as seeing the Oklahoma City championship proves it out there. The Denver championship proves it out as well. And, of course, Golden State the same way.
Yeah. All right. 941 Sports Zone brought to you, as always, by the good folks at Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, 941-251-4257. Give them a call. Get that roof taken care of before we get into the summer months and it rains every day and it starts raining inside your house. You don't want that.
No.
941-251-4257. I omitted something, and we're going to slot it in right here, John. They played Pebble this weekend, Pebble Beach, and some tremendous golf was played. They toy with that course, John. Both those courses. They really do. The wind was up yesterday afternoon. Scotty Scheffler still shot 63. Yeah. I mean, what the heck? And by the way, Scotty, if he wants to play, if he plays 4 rounds, everybody's playing for second. He's been given 2 weeks in a row now. He gave everybody a 1-round head start, and he nearly pulled the thing out of the fire. But let's give credit to a guy who has been struggling for the last 18 to 24 months, Colin Morikawa.
Absolutely.
He has, I think we talked about it when Ryder Cup came around, right about when we started, that I personally didn't think he should have been on the team. He just hadn't been playing well, and he struggled a little bit in that. Well, he found his game, birdied 18 with a tremendous chip up and down to win, and that's a huge win. That's a signature event. $20
yes,
million
it is. $20 million on the line. Yep.
Yeah. So he let's give Colin Morikawa credit. I think was a tremendous tournament. You're the golf guy here, so give me your thoughts on Pebble this week.
So horses for courses. Mm-hmm. Morikawa, West Coast guy, West Coast greens. It means a lot. He took advantage of it. He's won at Torrey. He won his U.S. Open there, or PGA championship there. But he's done that. He's definitely a guy who flourishes on the West Coast. Although the one aberration to his career is him winning an Open championship. I would have never guessed him to be that guy, but he did, and hats off to him for that. So that was a course that he definitely was going to show up at, and he did. As far as Scotty Scheffler is concerned, it's insane.
It really is.
You watch him strike a golf ball, okay, in the manner that he does. I don't know how he can get himself everything moving in the way it does, the way he swings through the ball. I mean, if you watch his swing, just pick up a golf club today and try to do that.
Yeah.
It's insane how he gets through the ball. It's almost. I remember when he first started doing well, they were like, "Someone's got to change that. That won't last." And then like, no, because his feet were moving all over the place. He hits shots where you're like, "What was that?" And he hits a cut, he hits a draw, he hits a fade, he hits a low shot. He's got it all going on for him, and he is insanely competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Just does like a golfer. He doesn't come out and get mad. He does a little bit, but he's totally into his game, and he expects it now. He expects to be winning. When I turned on I was on so many things yesterday. When I turned it on, I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" in that weather with that wind, and he's shooting 63. Back nine is gettable. Back nine is similar to what Phoenix is. It's a gettable back nine. You can put some low numbers up there, which makes for very exciting golf. From the all around golf fan, because you want to see scoring. You don't want to see guys winning because a couple double bogeys cost somebody. You want to see guys go out there and go get an eagle or a great birdie putt or whatever it may be. So and unfortunately for them, the best part of the Pebble Beach golf tournament is Pebble Beach itself, and seeing all the views and whatnot. You didn't get much of it. You got as much as you could, like a bright sunshiny day there does. But you got the other part of that area where it's a nasty, cold wind blowing off the Pacific Ocean, and you got to try to do your best. And those guys were doing a really great job making it with a win at 21 under, which is a hell of a low score.
Yes. By the way, Scheffler played the par fives 7 under par.
Yeah,
that's insane, dude. I mean, there are 4 of them. Eagle, birdie, eagle, and he eagled 18 to get into position.
A tap in eagle.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he had hit a shot that rode the wind out over the Pacific Ocean and came in and landed 4 feet from the cup. Crazy.
Yeah, tremendous. But hats off to Colin Morikawa. I know we don't talk much live on this, and I'll make it brief. Anthony Kim's an interesting story.
Unbelievable
story. He basically tried to kill himself, for lack of a better term. Drugs, alcohol, and all that. I think he was out of the game for like 11 or 12 years,
and maybe more than that.
And then he had he was thrown off a live at the end of last year. He had to qualify to get back on the tour. And yesterday he ran down John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau in the final round. And he didn't just run him down, he won by 3.
Right.
I'd love to see him get back at the PGA Tour. I would. It would be a tremendous story.
You're absolutely right. You think about if that happened in the PGA, the story that would be the lead in our show for sure. That would be the lead because it's that much. You're right. He did try to kill himself, and I'm not going to call him a country club kid, but he tried to kill himself like a country clubber would. He just became totally didn't want to do anything.
The word is toxic. He was toxic to himself and everybody around. Yep. And
then gets a shot to come back and almost screws that up, and now he goes out and wins one. Yep. Super talented golfer. Super talented golfer. And you just watch him just waste away. It was a sad story, and now it's a redemption story. So very interesting and good to him. So hopefully he can stay clean and sober and take advantage of his opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, a couple more things before we get on out of here. College basketball, there's a new number 1 team. Your lock of the week last week, Kansas, without their best player, still beat Arizona at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. The stat of the day, maybe the week, the month. Bill Self, who's the head coach at Kansas, he's had 15 teams come in the top 5, come into Fog Allen Fieldhouse to play his Kansas Jayhawks that were lower ranked. Did you hear this stat, or am I?
No, yeah, I know where you're going, but I don't know. I don't know the stat, but that's kind of why I picked him.
In those 15 games, what do you think his record is?
He's 15-0.
Yes, he is. You knew. Knew. You set me up.
The thing is this: it's because that's when you sometimes I I'm not a gambler, just so everybody
Yeah.
knows that. But I do like to give my opinions. Obviously,
Right.
I like
You're
I
good
like to
at
help
it.
other people out if I can. But the idea is that sometimes it's not the team coming in, the line, especially in college. It's the coach. It's the atmosphere. If they had a bunch of no good sort of off the heap kind of players, they recruit like hell every year. So they got
Mhm.
talented guys. Arizona, a younger team, and they're riding they're on this wave, and now they're not on a wave. Doesn't bode well for Arizona. It really doesn't. How they came off that win streak, and now they're facing some real tests coming up here.
Mhm.
Interesting to see how they play it out. They're not going to be a knockout in the first round kind of thing, but I don't know if Arizona's going to have the same sort of I
Well,
don't
they
know.
got time to right the ship, John. They've got about
They
3-4
do, they
weeks. They
do,
do.
but again, young guys
Yep.
that they're depending on to be contributors. It could be interesting to see how Arizona falls or how far they go over the next couple of weeks.
No question about it. So they actually dropped to 4 after the 2 losses. Michigan is the new top dog. And a lot of people think, you know, they're the best team in the country. A lot of people that have seen them, they've won, is it 8 or 10 games by 30 points, John? More than 30 points. They're killing teams. But they're going to get a test as the number 1. They're going to get 2 tests. Tomorrow night, they're going to play Purdue, and I'll talk about them in a second.
Right.
At Purdue. And then Saturday, they're at home against this outfit from Durham, North Carolina. Duke, number 3, Duke. Should be an interesting week for Michigan, but the former FAU coach is really building himself quite a power there at Michigan, and a lot of people think they're like a shoo-in as a 1 seed, especially if they win both games this week. They would literally have to fall on their face not to be a 1 seed.
Yes.
And I've seen them play, and their best is about as good as anybody else's that I've seen so far play this year.
Right, I agree. I talked about point guard play last week a little bit. That's one thing that worries me about a lot of these teams. I want to see the team with the best backcourt. Who's got the best backcourt, ball handling, all the stuff that I think is how you win basketball games against equal competition. So we'll see. I think if the betting line or how things are looking, I think we're going to have 8 teams that are going to come out of this as the real teams that have a chance to win it all. And Michigan is one of them for sure. Michigan is definitely one of them.
The rest of the top 5 that came out a little earlier on Monday as we record, I believe Houston is now number 2, and they have a tough game right out of the chute tonight against Iowa State, who fell from 5 to 7. But man, the Big 12, you got Arizona, Houston, and Iowa State in the top 7. And then you have Texas Tech, who's lurking, who beat Arizona at Arizona, and has unbelievably deep pockets. It seems like every sport, now that Texas Tech, now that we're in this new NIL thing, Texas Tech seems to be good in every single sport, and they're buying their way. They got that oil money working for them.
No, there's somebody. See, they if that's the rule, you play in the rules, just go for it. And they're going for it. Like anything else, it could backfire. You know what I mean? It's not always a given.
Right.
But in this day and age, it's not recruiting anymore. It's paying people to come play for you. And so everybody else is working on the same rules. That they got to do. If you can do it, they can do it. That's how it works.
By the way, Dusty May is the coach.
Yes.
At Michigan. And finally, I was like, I can't remember his name, but Dusty May. The UConn rounds out the top 5. And I think any one of those 5 teams can win it. Here's another team who I think can win it. And they won it last year. Florida has got things together. They really have. That was a nice win on Saturday against Kentucky. Kentucky was very motivated. They had aspirations of possibly, tying for the conference title, and Florida just kind of pushed
Yeah.
them away. Won by 9. They're scoring a ton of points. They play defense when they have to. Florida's all the way up to number 12. They're playing some tremendous basketball at the right time of year.
But the one thing I talk about point guard play, that's one thing that worries me about them.
Yeah, sure.
But now, I mean, looking at it, he's Boogie Fland, who's their point guard. He doesn't do anything different than all the other point guards in college football, college basketball do nowadays. They come in hot to go. They bring it up fast as they can. They penetrate. They try to kick it out to somebody for 3, ball movement, whatever it may be. Only thing I see about Florida is that they don't have a consistent 3-point shot outside of Thomas Hoke.
Yep.
You can't. He's the guy they got to go to for threes, and unless the kid from Princeton figures it out, he was like 13%, and the other night he did something. So yeah, Florida's one of the teams. They may not be a top 8 team by the time the season ends, but they're one of the top. There's too much there. Their front court is insane.
Probably one of the best in the country, if not
again,
the best.
And when going all the way back to game 1, they played Arizona game 1, and that was one of the better game 1 basketball games I've seen in a long time. And it was front court versus front court. And in that night, their front court, Arizona's front court, were more skilled scorers than some of the guys that Florida put out there, and they had a better backcourt. So that was the big difference. That ball turnovers were the end of that game for Florida that cost them that basketball game.
Well, they've gotten more consistent guard play. I know he doesn't do anything that spectacular. You can't have the point guard you had last year. He was by far the best guard in the country. But you know what? They were very inconsistent at the start of the year, and it cost them some ball games. And now they're playing at the right time, playing extremely well. And
they weren't winning games like they're winning now. Last year, they're much more dominant wins than last year's team.
Yeah. So, all right. There's only one team left now that's undefeated in Division I, with Arizona losing last week, and that's Miami of Ohio. They haven't played anybody. They are currently sitting at number 22. They moved up 1 spot. They're 25-0. It'll be interesting. I want them to stay undefeated because I want to see where the committee puts them. I really do. Can they get to a top 4, if you will? Can they get to a top 4 seed? Which I think they can if they end up. If
they blow through the MAC conference tournament, they can't. They got to put them as a 4, no lower than a 4. Absolutely. If they do, then that's stupidity.
Yeah. All right, locks of the week. We talked about it. I'll talk a little bit about this Purdue-Nebraska game. I will tell you right now that Purdue is going to be one of my early outs, and they're probably going to be ranked in the top 10. And it's not because of the kid. They're Smith, the point guard, had a tremendous game against Nebraska, but Matt Painter, their coach, you're up 14 with 2:45 to go. You basically salted the game away. 4 consecutive possessions with double digits remaining on the shot clock. They're hoisting up threes. Where's the timeout? You know where the timeout was? On a challenge that literally took less than 30 seconds. I couldn't believe he challenged it. And a lot of people, listen, the Matt Painter's had some criticism in the years. They were one of the teams that lost a 116 game.
Yep.
And I don't think you lose a 116 game if you have a coach that knows how to navigate. I ended up winning the thing, but I mean, I don't know how many times they tried to give it away. These kids still have to be coached.
When you watch Purdue, I don't watch a lot of Purdue basketball, but if I turn on a Purdue basketball game 10 years ago or 15 years ago and turn one on tomorrow, they look the same.
Yes.
They've got a couple of guys that usually some height down low. A guy can give you 10 points and 8 rebounds and 5 fouls. You got a point guard who can he can do some things, but he really he's not your best shooter. You got a kid from Slovakia who's out there. He can hit the 3, that kind of thing. They're the same team over and over again. And I'll say this, and this is probably people that are Purdue fans would say like, oh, that's ridiculous. But, Where does Matt Painter come from? Where's his tree? Where does it come from? It comes from Gene Cady.
Nah.
What did Gene Cady do at Purdue? His name's on the court, whatever, but he never won a championship, in regards to that. And then when it came down to when Purdue for me was always like, hey, Indiana and Ohio and Michigan look great in basketball. Michigan State's doing great. But don't forget about Purdue. That's always what it was. Like, oh, don't forget about Purdue.
Right.
And then Purdue would get there and they get to the Big Ten championship and lose by 20 and then lose in the second round. Yep. It's like the same thing over, rinse, repeat. And he learned his trade under the guy who did the same thing.
Yep. So that's my rant. I should have saved that for my what's bugging me, but nonetheless, we both won, and we mentioned you at Kansas over Arizona, so you're 14-7. That's
I get a lot of kudos for that one. People are like, I got a lot of nice picks there.
Absolutely. I'll agree with you. I'll tip my cap that I don't have on to you. So, but 67% on locks of the week is not bad, especially for a guy who doesn't gamble. I'm 12-9. I'll take that most times, but I'm 2 behind you, so I gotta make up some ground. You got one yet, John?
I do.
Okay.
Well, you talked about both games earlier. I'm sticking with college basketball because it's kind of hard to right now. Everything's a little mushy about trying to make picks in college basketball. There are good games to watch. I went with the Tuesday game last week. I'm going to go with Saturday game. Okay. So right now you're going to watch it happen. I'm going to decide right now. Michigan at Duke, Arizona at Houston. They're talking top 6 teams in the country playing each other.
Yep.
I like the home teams in both games.
Let me correct you because I looked at this. I think it's Duke at Michigan.
Oh, it is at Michigan. Okay.
I believe it is. Yeah, I'm going to double check right now while you keep talking.
Okay.
But I'm almost certain that's at. Let me see. I'm going to do that. But anyway.
Okay. So I like Duke and Michigan. I think the matchup is interesting.
Now this show. Hang on a second here. I think you might be right. I think this might be at Cameron. I think it might be at Cameron.
And Arizona.
No, it's neutral. It's quote unquote neutral site. It's at Capital One Arena in Washington D.C.
Okay, so that's what it is.
But it is Duke country basically.
Right. So I think they match up well. I think they're good. I like that. That's a Final Four game to me. I think the way it looks. And sure. Arizona used to be a Final Four game. But I will say this: I have more confidence in Duke beating Michigan, so I'm going to take Duke over Michigan as my lock of the week. I would pick, believe it or not, I would pick Houston to beat Arizona because I think Houston has a big chip on their shoulder and they really want to prove them. This is a prove it to me kind of game for them. But I just like Duke over Michigan a little bit more than I like Arizona losing to Houston. So that's my pick.
Duke, all right, very interesting pick. I definitely like it more than I don't think Arizona is going to lose 3 games in 2 weeks.
That's my worry. That's my worry.
Right. I think that's tough. I'm going to go with the Tuesday game as well. It's a little bit of a fishy line, but they haven't been playing well of late. And they being Michigan State, who's dropped all the way down to 15. Usually Tom Izzo starts getting things together, and they've had a couple of tough losses last week or so, including Wisconsin just waxing them the other day at home. They're only an 8.5-point favorite over UCLA, who's a fringe tournament team. They'll probably get in, but I think Michigan State, I think Tom Izzo, I can only imagine what practice has been like the last few days. I think they'll come out and I think they'll roll. I'll lay the 8.5. I think Michigan State rolls UCLA tomorrow, Tuesday night. As tomorrow is, I guess we're on Monday, but Tuesday night, Michigan State laying the 8.5. So
it's funny to say about Izzo's team. How I talked about Matt Painter, his teams. You can see a Tom Izzo team. They are the same guys doing the same thing. And I anytime Michigan State, it doesn't matter if they're the 8 seed, they thrive in that situation. They fear no one except Tom Izzo.
Right.
And so I love Michigan State.
And it's interesting because these days the coach doesn't have nearly as much clout as the coach at Kansas State found out.
Yeah.
He ripped his team over the weekend after a loss, basically said, it doesn't matter, nobody's going to be here. Well, guess what? He's out of a job, and Kansas State's trying to fire him for cause. He's owed about $18.5 million, $19 million. And
they might
this
win
is going to be
one.
very interesting how this plays out.
They might win that one. Or
so?
Arbitration will come in and they'll say, okay, you stand to get nothing, or you want $4 million and you can go home and insult your own family.
Okay. Well, a lot of the college basketball world's going to be watching this one.
Absolutely right.
And Tang, 2 years ago, Kansas State was an Elite Eight team. Remember, they lost to Dusty May and FAU when FAU went to the Final Four.
Kansas State and Iowa State, similar situations. They have some great teams with some good players, and then all of a sudden they just can't seem to get past the Sweet 16 or even the Elite Eight. They just can't get past it.
Yeah. All right, final segment. What's bugging me? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So I talked a little bit about Purdue, and I probably should have saved that, but what's bugging me is, we talked about it earlier, the tanking that goes on in the NBA. And Adam Silver's got to fix this sooner than later. Because again, in this world that we live in now, betting is widespread. There's over 30 states that have legalized gambling. And you got teams that are openly tanking. I think that's a major issue. And while Adam Silver kind of said the right things, he's got to act.
Right.
And I have not been thoroughly impressed with him as a commissioner. Because like you say, he's a commissioner for the owners. He's supposed to be. But I almost get the sense he's more of a commissioner for the players. The players put a lot of pressure on him. And I think his legacy is going to be defined by what happens here. I really do. Because you can't, this is the world of professional sports. You can't have teams that are literally doing what Utah's doing. That's got to end, and it's got to end before they start play again on Thursday night in the NBA. I just think you just can't have that. You can't have that in the NFL, Major League Baseball. You just can't. And so it's bugging me that while Adam Silver kind of said the right things, he needs to take action, and he needs to take it sooner than later for the NBA. It already bugs me that you can't buy tickets in advance because you have no idea who's playing, which is another problem in the NBA. He's got a few things that he's got to fix, but this tanking thing to me is the biggest thing. All right.
And I 100% agree. You talk about the gambling side of it real quick, which I'll just add something. Watching a game and you're everything is pregame. They're talking about the line, who's playing, what's the prop bet. Every sport now has it. Okay, so you can't look at it and say, "Hey, Mr. Fan, Mr. Gambler, or whatever it may be, I'm not going to worry about it." If they're gonna, that's part of the analysis process. You got to figure out who's going to tank and not tank. No, go play the damn game. And you're right. He's 100%, 1,000% about the players. He's in love with the players. Okay, because that's what the marketer does. The marketers and coaches in the NBA are relegated to being guys that are they're third class citizens. They're not even. They just take up a seat on the bench. They're not really. It doesn't even seem like they're that engaged, or players don't engage them as much. So it's just one of those things where the players have been running the roost. And look, I thought the NBA was going to be the first team to ever go out of business. I still think that can happen because the money. ESPN saved everything for them. So it is. So now did NBC. They saved them as well. So we'll see that. But how long? Like anything, a lot they can go through money pretty quick with how they spend it. All right, lock of the week. So mine's pretty simple. And again, it goes. I sort of been nostalgic for the Olympics this year. I remember a basketball game in 1972. I told you I went back further, right? Where there was basically the fix was in. They got the Russians got over the USA basketball team. They got 4 different attempts at the same Hail Mary pass down court till they got it, and then it was a whole slew of things. It was crazy. One of the worst things you've ever seen. However, over time, especially with winter sports, where judging is a part of what happens, you have different countries represented. That it's the woman from France and the guy from Germany and whatever, and they are the judges of this stuff. And it is subjective. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Not objective.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's objectively subjective. How's that?
Yeah. So the look of it is that you say, well, where are you going with this? Well, hey, the guy who was going down the ski slope on moguls, even though he's the fastest, his knee was a little off on this one and this way, and this is my opinion, and his scores are all wonky. You're never quite sure who you trust. But the one thing that came out is that the ice dancing that came out, and the U.S. Team, Chalk and what's the guy's name? Anyway, they're a married couple. They've 15 years together. They've reached this pinnacle. They're the favorites to win, and they lose. They lose to training partners and coaches that they share. They lose to a French team that was very good. However, after the fact, you find out that the French judge was so far different than anybody else. It made the difference in that team winning and the other team losing. And so you still have this air of, well, who's got the fix in for the one they want to win?
Right.
I know it's a judgment call, but when it's that glaring, I can see if somebody was off that, you say, consistently this is how they did stuff, but no, it's not. Right. So this has to be rectified, because the minute there's the aberration, you see it in other sports. Throw the high and the low out.
Yeah.
Hey, immediately you know what? We're going to take a 10-minute break and go sit down and figure this shit out. We're not going to wait till tomorrow or whatever else it is. It's all computerized now. They're not sending ballots in through the mail or secret whatever else it is. Now when a French judge does that for the French team and it costs somebody the gold medal, something's got to change with that. And it's been going on for years and years and years and years. And for as much as I've told you I enjoy the Winter Olympics and I'll give it all the validation in the world and how it looks and everything else, you can't let that happen. You can not when everything comes down to hundreds of seconds or so many points, and that you can't let that happen at the highest level. It just really cannot happen. So I hope it gets rectified, or at least it gets at least given the proper look at it to see what happened or didn't happen. But somewhere along the way, you got to be able to eliminate that possibility. If you're French, you can't judge the French guy. How about that?
There you go. There it is right there. There it is. Period. End of story.
You can't judge for the Americans.
Correct.
You can have 25 judges. Okay, you 7, you're up for the next group, or you're up because none of your people are in it. How simple is that? But that's that weird, bougie, shitty European, that kind of shit. It's stupid. It's really dumb. Like, no, she's the best. No, she's like anybody else. She wants her team to win.
Yeah.
That she didn't get to be a skating judge because they asked her in the street to come try and do it. She's been doing it for years, and she knows everybody on the French team. Stupid.
As a gambler, there's just 4 words: the fix is in. Seriously, how do you think anything else? Now, the Americans have taken the high road. They're not even going to appeal.
I know,
which I thought was rather interesting.
You know what? Again, that also lends to the same thing. The artistic nature of it, whatever it may be. Sometimes you got to be like, nah, bullshit. I'm kicking the door in. You know what I mean?
Bullshit.
Because if you don't, the next guy's going to get the same treatment. You don't want that to happen. You just don't want that to happen. And unfortunately, 72, 2026, still happening.
Yep. Excellent. What's bugging me, and that'll wrap up another edition of the 941 Sports Zone. I was putting things together today and was like, how are we going to get to, maybe we'll shorten. Nope, it's still an hour and a half, no matter what we do.
I say it was because we added football.
We added football, and then we added golf too. So there you go. But we'll be back with another episode next Monday. It'll be a Olympics wrap. Do they go to LA? Golf? Do they now go
Yeah,
to LA?
LA.
So
One more, and all
yeah.
the Californians. That's the Bet California guys.
Yes.
If you're especially anything in the top 10, there's guys who just love Riviera. So
Yeah.
bet those guys that it is different. I played golf in California. The greens are way different.
Yeah.
It's all different. It's crazy. It's crazy how different it is.
And they may have some weather factors too this week.
Well,
They've been
I guess
lucky
they're
so
getting
far
floods.
on the West Coast, but we might have some issues. But
Yeah.
we'll get into that a little more next week. I'm sure there'll be some NFL news that breaks. We'll be back to playing basketball. Hockey will be around shortly. We'll know who got the gold in both men's and women's hockey. We got a lot to talk about next week, so we hope you'll join us. Again, like and subscribe us. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, Instagram. Just like us, subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. For John Going Snowblind Masoni, I'm Spitz. Until next week, so long, everybody.
Bye-bye.